We'll bring in Florida Congressman Carlos Gimenez, representing Florida's 28th congressional district, including Miami and the Florida Keys. Congressman, thanks so much for coming back on here. So we spoke with you right before this storm. South Florida not taking a direct hit from Milton, at least the southeast. But again, the storm surge was seen, obviously high winds, and then most importantly, the tornadic activity that we have seen. Overall thoughts, your assessment today, perhaps what you've heard.
Well, I think, I can tell you that from down here in Miami where I live, it was really dry. I mean, I woke up this morning, my patio was dry, and as you can see, it's not too windy. And so, no, we escaped the brunt of the storm. I mean, obviously the West Coast is with the storm surge, and then up in the Tampa area and then through the middle of the state, that's who got the worst part of the storm. And that's who we're worried about, especially the coastal communities. Hopefully everybody that was asked to evacuated, and then we're going to have to see what damage that storm surge brought to the west coast of Florida.
Right, and residents are also curious, and I think maybe with your experience, Congressman, when it comes to returning back to the area that was impacted by the storm, what would you tell folks who might be tuning in and wondering the same thing?
Look, if your area is still under floodwaters, don't go back, because there may be some power lines, et cetera, that are submerged, and they could be very dangerous. And so wait until your local authorities tell you it's safe to go back, and then you can go back. Before then, don't do that, because there could be some hidden dangers. With Hurricane Andrew 30 years ago, we actually had more people die from the recovery than we had from the actual hurricane. And so the activities after the hurricane are also quite dangerous, or could be dangerous if you don't take precautions.
Yeah, that's a very important point. And again, something to remember, though many eager to get back to your homes, remember just to adhere to local authorities, perhaps watch your local news stations as well, state authorities too. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the federal response to Helene, obviously now to Milton, because Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic presidential nominee, joined the Weather Channel yesterday for an interview by phone. She says that FEMA has the resources to respond to multiple hurricanes. That's important, but it does need more because its budget was constricted rather by around a bygone time. Here's her words exactly.
So FEMA has the resources it needs right now to deal with what has happened in terms of Helene and what we expect in terms of Milton. And we need Congress, when they come back, to put more resources into investing in resilience and adaptation around these extreme weather events. These budgets, so many of them were constructed around a bygone time. And Mike, what you know and all the work you've been doing over the years, if you track the way that this is all happening, it's getting worse.
So again, the quote, the budget was constructed around a bygone time, FEMA's budget. Congressman, I believe you serve on the Homeland Security Committee, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm incorrect.
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you talk a little bit to that, a bygone area? That's where the budget was constructed around.
No, it's actually constructed around current needs. And then obviously there are things that happen throughout the year that you don't account for, that some extraordinary event. And then we go back and appropriate additional money for that. But FEMA has certainly enough money to do what it needs to do. And there's flexibility in that budget so that the director and the president can move whatever resources they need in order to protect the American people. Don't tell me you don't have enough resources. We only have $1 trillion budget, for God's sakes. Okay, and so you do. Look, at the end of the day, FEMA, for the most part, I mean, yeah, they respond and all that, but the local authorities are the ones that are responding. It's the state. You saw how the governor handled this particular incident. He's in charge. FEMA is behind the scenes. They're the ones that are supporting some of these things. But the majority of these efforts, that rescue, et cetera, that are happening right now, are happening at the local level and at the state level with support from FEMA. FEMA at the end comes with reimbursements of all of the expenses that we incur as we do the recovery. And I can tell you one thing, as being a former mayor of Miami-Dade County, that sometimes it takes over a decade to get reimbursed by FEMA. So don't tell me it's an issue right now. When you don't pay us until 10 years from now.